to the border. We are awaiting President Trump to show up at Calexico, California. But before he left Washington, D.C. this morning, he did threaten a 25% tariff on all autos made in Mexico, whether they're from U.S. companies. These are cars made in Mexico, shipped to the United States. And he says this will, quote, supersede the new NAFTA or USMCA deal. Now, whether it does, Mexico's standing as our largest dairy export market is starting to look precarious and has the U.S. Dairy Export Council on tenterhooks. In a Fox Business exclusive, we have Council CEO and former Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack with us. As the president goes down to the border, how closely will be dairy farmers watching this?
Well, they were very concerned when he announced a disastrous strategy of closing the border. $3.8 million of dairy products flow through that border every single day. This in light of 5 years of very depressed prices, retaliatory tariffs making it harder to get into our #1 market, and obviously deep concerns about whether or not we can get the ratification of USMCA done very quickly. So a lot going on that dairy farmers are very, very concerned about their #1 market and the U.S. position relative to that #1 market.
Now, what if the president were to keep trucking lanes open? There was that discussion of somehow allowing commerce to pass through what would be no longer a porous border.
Well, the other concern is that they've basically been transferring personnel from customs to immigration, which has slowed the process down at the border over the last several days. So even though lanes may be open, there may be a delay in getting product to market. All of this is designed, I think, to create some uncertainty at the border. Obviously, that creates friction. What we don't need in this trade relationship is more friction. What we need is a resolution of the difficulties separating the two countries on the tariffs and a passage of the USMCA.
It's important to mention, though, that the president has scrapped what he threatened last week, which was, I'm closing the border by the end of this week if Mexico doesn't do anything about the stream of illegal migrants coming across the border. He has backed down from that, and GOP senators like Mitch McConnell, like John Cornyn of Texas, begged him, please don't go through with this threat. What about the tariffs, though? That doesn't have anything to do with the dairy market. So if he slapped tariffs on cars, how do you perceive something like that?
Well, that impacts the relationship between the two countries and makes it potentially more difficult for Mexico to pass the kind of labor reforms that are central to the ability of our Congress to get the USMCA passed. I mean, this is all intertwined. It's a complex relationship, and I think it's unfortunate that we look for simplistic responses. If we really are truly concerned about the border, what we need is comprehensive immigration reform. We obviously need enhanced border security, and we need some kind of plan to ensure that the economies south of our border are healthier so that people don't feel the need to come to the United States for opportunity for their families.
Tom, back in the days of the Gang of Eight, which was bipartisan and actually got, I believe, the Senate to vote on a comprehensive immigration plan that was centrist and it was rational, it doesn't seem like the Democrats are open to much of anything when it comes to that. And the Republicans, quite frankly, have dug in their heels on certain issues that matter to the Democrats. How do you get over something like this as our dairy industry, which exports a huge amount to Mexico, watches and bites their nails?
This is an incredibly frustrating situation because everybody in that capital knows what the solution is. They need the political courage to get it done. They need to be able to go back home and explain to folks that this is not about taking American jobs. This is about building an American economy that continues to be strong. It's about creating the same kind of opportunities that our forefathers have had in terms of building this country. The reality is everyone knows what the solution is. It takes political courage, and I think the rest of us have to essentially give our politicians permission to do the right thing on immigration.
If you had the president's ear, what would you say?
Mr. President, simplify the message. Let's not try to make more disruption here.
Okay, I don't mean to interrupt here, but I'm just hearing some of our viewers say, how much simpler is it? Please, Mexico, do your part in keeping this flow of migrants and, quite frankly, drugs, fentanyl, all kinds of problems from coming across so that we can ship our corn and dairy and pork and poultry across.
Here's the problem. The issue with drugs is primarily at the ports. It's not at the border. And so we're really talking about two different issues here. If we're truly interested about drugs, then we obviously have to enhance our security at the ports. It's not a situation where this stuff is being carried over in great quantities across the border. It's coming in through ships, through containers. And we only basically inspect a handful of containers every single day. So, I think the president is basically trying to create a political messaging around a situation that actually has gotten better over time. And the reality is we need comprehensive immigration reform. Yes, enhanced border security has to be part of that, but it's only part of it. You've got to say something to the 11 million people who are here in this country. You have to provide some kind of pathway to legitimacy for them. And you have to have a system that makes sense and is rational from this point forward. We don't have that because we don't have the courage in Congress and in the administration to get this done. Everybody knows what the answer is. Everybody knows what the answer is.
I hope both sides of the political aisle are at some point going to face each other and get this done. Tom Vilsack, former Agriculture Secretary, thank you for joining us.